Hi everyone, we are back with episode 4 of this coaching series, where this is game 4 of the Benjamin Franklin Open, round 4 of it. This game happened on December 22nd, 2024. So Akil, this is your game. How were you feeling about it going into this round?
Um, yeah, so I am 2.5 out of 3 heading into this round. I mean, the tournament's already over, but I won my first game fairly straightforwardly. Second game, blundered a little bit, but was able to take a draw. And third game had a very nice game where I won a piece on like move 18 and then converted pretty smoothly. But now I'm playing the highest rated guy in the section, 1635. So, but I have the white pieces, so I
Yeah.
was not scared going into this, but a lot of these kids are always super underrated.
Yeah, and it was the under 1600 section, but this guy's live rating was above 1600, so kind of wild to think
Yes.
about.
Yep.
Okay,
So
let's just hop in, I guess.
for this tournament, strictly E4, so I opened with one E4. He opens with E5.
Oh, not the French. E5.
Knight of 3,
Yep.
knight to C6, and bishop to B5.
Okay.
Standard, going for the Spanish. I've always played this, always liked it, so I know you have differing opinions.
Gross, gross. Incorrect
But he
move.
responds with a Berlin defense, knight to F6. And here there's two lines. You can either play D3 for the anti-Berlin or the main line, which is castles. I decided to castle here, allowing knight takes E4, and then we'll head into an endgame.
Did he? Did he go for that
No,
again?
he decides to go for the D6 line here, which is very passive, but a lot more solid than bishop C5, in my opinion. There's three lines here. Obviously, knight takes E4, D6, and bishop to C5. I just play rook to E1 here, allowing bishop to G4. A lot of people don't opt for this option because there's a fairly simple refutation, which maybe isn't a refutation, but the move's not as strong as it seems. He decides to go for bishop to G4, and I follow up with H3, and he goes bishop back.
The H5.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I play the move D3. Bishop to E7, preparing to castle short, and I play the move C3. So knight to D4 never becomes an issue after he castles,
Makes sense.
dropping pressure on the pin.
Yeah, and I assume sometimes you might also go
Uh,
bishop A4 and bishop C2 in some cases too.
that's always a big idea. We're gonna play for D4 here, but he hasn't really given me too threatening of a setup because I would argue his light squared bishop will eventually be misplaced, or he's gonna have to trade off for the knight. Both things which make me happy. And his bishop's on E7 inside the pawn chain, which does happen a lot in the close which does happen in the close Lopez, but I'm very fine playing with the C3 D3 system a little bit slower than the C3 D4 because I just think it's fine because the bishop's there, which is vaguely what I recall from like when I looked at openings last maybe like months ago at this point. Um, yeah, he castles here.
Okay.
Knight beat to D2, going for the standard Roy Lopez maneuver
Nice,
with
nice.
knight D2, knight F1, knight G3. He plays pawn to A6. I go bishop to A4. Um, Probably supposed to take the knight here, but I guess a lot of times it just depends on whether you play the Roy Lopez normally or play the exchange variation, whether you take or not. I'm gonna assume there's nothing wrong with bishop to A4. I just never do, even when I would know it's the best move to take it, unless I'm concretely winning a pawn or have a crushing position. I would never trade on C6,
Yeah, actually, it's
and
really.
I'm either gonna reroute to C2 voluntarily or what's up?
Oh no, I was gonna say it's really it is pretty interesting, like whether or not to take. Um, I would also verge on not taking it, although I guess
I think
there.
D5 comes in immediately.
Yeah, D5 can't come in, although yeah, because the knight's still pinned, I guess. Like maybe if your knight was already on G3 and it was supporting
Yes.
like E4 and it was click the bishop. So maybe if he played A6 like 2 moves later, then maybe taking is better. I don't like how he gets it in successfully. Or maybe even play C5 and really clamp down on D4. I'm not sure, but I think you're right. Probably both ways to play are
Yeah.
totally fine, but yeah, I would also kind of like like maybe it's okay because you get D4 in first. Um, and like and I think you're getting d4 in successfully because the pawn is well guarded. So I'm not
Maybe,
sure.
but my knight can't really move that easily.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, I guess it can.
Yeah, this
But
knight. Yeah, like yeah, I guess you can still go knight f1 because the pawn is still guarded by the rook.
mhm.
Um, but it's unclear whether or not you want to play d4 so quickly. And it's still just a game of chess. I would verge on going playing d4 and then just playing around it. I don't know somehow. So I could
I
definitely
agree.
see why you wouldn't though, because I don't know, bishop pair is nice and you keep a lot more tension in the position. So, anyways,
Yeah, and the bishop pair is where a lot of I think my advantage comes from in this game when I had it.
hmm,
So after bishop to a4, he plays move h6,
yeah,
which, unless it was just a random waiting move, which doesn't really make sense because I would argue he would have played b5, sending my bishop back to b3 or c2, which in this case, I think it would have gone to b3 until I'm forced to go to c2 because d4 has not yet been played. I would argue that he's doing this to prepare after knight f1, knight g3, he would go back to g6, and then if something hops in to attack that, like maybe knight h4, he would head back to the h7 square.
yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah,
So
knight g3 and
it makes perfect sense. I would also argue the bishop is misplaced because a lot of times in the Roy Lopez, you want your light squared bishop on b7
yeah, all the way back over here on this diagonal.
after you play b5. Or sometimes it goes to e6, sometimes different squares, but like your light squared bishop is almost like a thematic problem in a lot of openings.
True. Yeah,
Back.
I can't believe. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to think about how actually useless this bishop is. Like, if it does go to g6 and then h7, and a knight hops onto f5, the bishop's just gonna take it, and then
Yeah.
like it's definitely not impressing anyone right now. I mean, but just a piece, I suppose. But
Yes.
yeah, I don't know.
And
H6
it's
seems very weird.
yeah, and it's interesting because the light squared bishop is always like your best piece in the Roy Lopez, like, and that's why like the exchange variation is like really frowned upon by a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think of like a random variation, like knight f1. I don't even know what black does. Like, let's say black does a stupid move like rook b8 for no reason, and let's say now here, and here, like
And then knight to f5 instantly.
yeah, knight to f. I don't even know which one. Probably
Probably the other knight. Yep.
yeah, probably this one. Um,
G6 is impossible.
yeah, g6 would be horrible. And like and let's say you didn't go h6 and instead you went useless waiting moves anyways. Something like this. Um, you don't mind if white takes because with that pawn you're preventing the other knight from getting to f5. That's kind of like the one thing I wanted to show is that like a pawn on h6 on g6 is actually not the worst thing in the world. Maybe it's not what you want, but it's not the worst thing in the world because you do prevent the knight from getting to f5 or h5. So the pawn on g6 does actually have a use. I don't know if maybe it's not the best use, but maybe it's not best to double your pawns so easily, but still. Um, so
Well, I guess if that were to happen, I'd just dump the knight on f5 anyways.
oh, true. Yeah, yeah. That's a good point actually. If that did happen, you play knight f5 anyways, and you don't take the bishop. But anyways, you can play better moves than h6. I think that's the. I think we can agree on that for sure.
Yep. But after h6, knight to f1 was played,
Yep.
and then he plays his move knight to d7, knight back to d7.
Knight to d7.
Yeah, so actually, interesting thing. So if completely regardless of this, they're in the closed Roy Lopez, assuming to get to that position. Like when they branch out a bunch of lines, knight d7 is a move. It's called the Karpov variation. Anything knight d7 is always called the Karpov variation. But
That's funny.
it's very interesting. But I guess here the only idea he has is to go f5. And I think there's one refutation to that, and I think it's the obvious one,
Knight
and
g3.
that's striking with d4.
Oh.
But knight g3 first. No,
Okay.
knight g3 first. You're correct. 'Cause, I
Okay.
mean, the bishop has to make a decision, right?
Yeah, I assume bishop.
Well, I guess actually, let's say, how about if I play knight g3? Let's say if he takes on f3.
Yep. And queen takes.
It's
f5.
immediately with f5, which loses the pawn on the spot. Phenomenal.
And if you go g6, then knight check, and you don't lose your queen. and the knight's guarded by the bishop. So there's no pin there.
I guess I don't even why I looked at that. It's been a while since I played the game.
Yeah, we are recording the day after, and maybe not the freshest in our mind, but hey, we're in the comfort of our own homes.
Yes. So knight g3, bishop g6 happens in the game. So just a logical continuation.
Yep. And
bishop to g6, I strike with d4.
Nice. Yeah, beat him to the punch.
And he takes.
Okay.
Which I think he has to do.
Yeah.
And then I take back with the pawn, yes.
Yeah, naturally. I just thinking about it. Yeah, it's kind of tough because as black, you really don't want to take. Like, you really don't. But, I mean, what else are you going to do?
Position just looks cramped, I guess.
Yes, definitely. Like this knight has nowhere to go if you push to d5. Nowhere good, I would say. Like, I don't even know what to do as black. Maybe you can try to force f5. And yes, you hope nothing's hanging. Like, maybe this is one way to fight back and, like, not take and try to just liquidate the center.
No, just take the knight, alright?
Take the knight.
Take on f5. Take on e5.
Oh, is this... Yeah, it is hanging at the end of the day.
Yeah. And after it takes, knight takes knight, queen takes queen.
Yep, rook takes, and
then you take here, there's no back rank mate.
No back rank mate. Nice.
And you also just move the king.
Yep.
And you have to deal with your hanging bishop.
Two of them, actually.
Oh, that's just dead lost, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it dead lost?
There's this. It pins the knight. It actually pins the knight to the king. Weirdly enough.
So rook takes doesn't work then.
Rook take doesn't work, so I guess it's fine.
I'll just rook e3 then.
Yeah, probably rook e3. Anyways, this is pretty deep. But yeah, as black in this position, I would consider f5. And after calculating that, I would probably conclude, let's not play it because this sucks. Anyways, takes and pawn takes.
Yeah. So in this position, probably I calculated a few moves. I actually didn't see any moves really for him. I saw maybe b5. Just seems like the easiest and most simple move, low risk move to play, I guess. So when he plays move bishop to h4.
Bishop to h4. Oh yeah. Yeah, he's out of ideas. That move, I'm just like, huh. Yeah, that is kind of weird.
Yeah, for a 1600 to play that move, which kind of threw me off.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like, there's not really that many moves to do, like you said. Like, b5 is the only move that comes to mind. It's just because it's a forcing move. I'm not really sure how to improve the position. I would honestly go, like, think about rook e8 to go bishop f8 and have the bishop live on there for a bit.
On the g7 square after g6.
Yeah, possibly, but
after bishop h7, yes.
Yeah, so like maybe that's or just stay on f8 for a while until you get in c5 and d5. Like, so that's one way that I would think about this position as black. Other than that, I don't really have any ideas.
Yeah. So
anyways,
I was thinking about this move actually for a little bit longer, and I realized what I failed to consider in the game. Every single piece trade benefits him. And I say, and at least in my opinion, the reason I say that is because I think white's has to be a decent bit better right now. And that's because my pieces are placed a lot better than his. And the more of my pieces that he can trade off, the closer it brings him to equality. That's probably the wrong way to evaluate it, but that's at least what I think. And I think if that dark squared bishop he felt like it was more of a liability, it's not the worst idea to trade it off. Even with the very, very weird looking move.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's kind of tough playing these positions with the big center. Like this.
That's not really supported.
Yeah, like it can be a bit scary to play with because like they can attack it and you could end up overextending or not having enough defenders, or like I can imagine a scenario where like, oh, you might be a bit scared to take because this pawn might be a bit weak, or you might be afraid of him taking this one because this pawn might become a bit weak. But I think in this case, in this scenario at least, your center is pretty well defended. But what to do after you've secured the big center is always a tough question, a tough thing to.
Yes. And in this position, my mind and common sense also told me that the best move is probably just to play knight h4 and take the bishop. But I thought about this for a little bit longer, and I'm like, that's probably seems like probably the only thing that he calculated in this position with this move in mind. Or if I let him take on g3. And there's no other justification to this move if he doesn't take on g3, which is what I thought. And my dark squared bishop is always a piece that I have to figure out what to do with, I think, in these Royal positions. And if that bishop can live on the f4 square, I'm going to put it there. Because now I have a better dark squared bishop. My light squared bishop is going to thrive on the b3 f7 diagonal or the c2 h7 diagonal. But then on the c2 h7 diagonal, it is contested by his bishop, which doesn't usually happen. But I would argue that he wants knight h4, queen h4, and assuming he has some sort of initiative there, which I don't necessarily think is true.
Yeah, it's like actually.
I always think he's gonna try to go get this position, try to bait something like d5 and go knight e5.
Yeah,
he's gonna try to bait d5 from me.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Which I wouldn't play in this position, but it's the center. I guess it looks nice, but I think it's very, very fragile. And f3 can never be played because my knight just hangs.
Yeah, very true, very true.
Even though that would just completely reinforce the center, so that becomes kind of difficult.
Yeah, you have to be careful with your pawn pushes.
Because I thought this was a very critical moment in the game, and maybe looking back at it, like I said, bishop h4 wasn't that bad of a move, but if it was, I wanted to make sure it was punished to the full extent. So I couldn't find anything concrete or even like initiative based. So I just played bishop to f4, assuming he's going to take next. And if he tries to force the issue, I would just take and maybe drop back to e3 or something with the bishop. And everything's protected. The bishop's dropping back to b3, and I think I'm happy there.
Yeah, that's fair. Did you say like force the issue as in like try to kick your bishop away somehow? Like
if he brings that, I mean, queen f6 is a move. I don't think it's a good move particularly.
Yeah, that's an interesting move. I don't even know what to think about it. That just looks a bit weird.
It's like I'm not sure the most effort was put into this, as in the sense of like, oh, knight h4, queen's scary.
Yeah, actually, yeah, knight. Oh, I guess.
Oh, wait, queen f6 is just blunder, right?
Is it? Your bishop's hanging. Your bishop on f4 is hanging.
Oh, my bishop is hanging. I was about to say d5.
Yeah, d5 looks really strong if it's
d5, not e5.
Oh,
but I mean d5, knight e5, and then he's fine. Both knights are defended.
Yes.
You play knight e5, the bishop hits nothing on the c diagonal, and then I kind of wall in my own bishop essentially.
Yeah. So actually, queen f.
But I think I'm positionally doing kind of fine.
Queen f6 would have been a very interesting move. I feel like
I guess queen f6, knight h4.
Yeah, and if he takes yours, then
if he takes here, I take there.
Yeah.
But then he has this open. But then I guess simply just move my rook back to f1 or something.
Or here, or here, or something like that.
Yeah, a queen. I don't like queen c2. I don't like queen e2 because it hangs a d pawn. Queen c2 hangs a d pawn also.
Oh yeah, this is a bit trickier than I thought it was at first glance.
I think just rook back to f1 is your only move, and I don't like this position actually.
Yeah, it's very tough. Suddenly, like sometimes when you have like a big center, like so probably opening the f file gives them too much counterplay.
Yes.
So
I guess we can always just come back here, right?
Yeah, we can always come back here. But yeah, this is actually.
I mean, knight h4, queen f4, knight f3. So queen f6 here.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're saying do it. Yeah, put it on the board.
Okay, yeah. So bishop f4, queen f6. Knight h4, queen f4, knight g3, knight f3.
F3.
Right.
That's what you mean by go back. Okay, I see what you mean.
Equal. Same colored bishops. Knight on d7 is kind of misplaced. Can't really enter f6 without being a target, I would argue. And the queen does seem kind of congested if the knight goes to f6.
Yeah, if the knight does go to f6, it's kind of funny looking.
I can always even consider just taking the knight at this point.
Yeah, I would definitely consider it. Because your center is very well guarded, and maybe you can just go queen c2. Maybe you can go queen c2 and just target the pawns, or rook c1.
Yeah.
Queen c2 or rook c1.
So I mean, queen c2, c6, c5 pawn sack.
c5 pawn sack.
Not a sack actually. So pawn takes. And if queen takes, just knight takes.
Okay.
Then bishop takes. That's defended.
The knight on f3 is actually kind of bad.
Yeah.
Okay, I see your point.
I guess these are like very, very long variations I didn't go through in game, which I guess I probably could have, because
yeah, these are very long variations actually. This is kind of funny looking. This is wild. Just a heavy piece endgame out of nowhere like this. Yeah. It's kind of tough when the center gets liquidated like that so quickly. So
I mean, yeah, I clearly have the ability to calculate those. I don't know why I don't.
Well, if you have the time and the ability, then you probably should to some degree, for sure.
I guess it's a lot different looking at an analysis board and talking to someone than actually doing it in game.
That's true. It is very different. It's very different. Yeah, I actually don't like bishop f4 considering queen f6, because if you go back, then this happens.
I don't hate that.
You don't hate that?
No.
And
well, except for the fact that the bishop has to move again because the pawn's hanging.
Is this?
Oh wait! Whoa!
Actually, this is weird.
Wait, I wouldn't have. I don't know if I would have went bishop e3.
Oh, okay, you don't. Yeah, fair enough. I'm assuming bishop e3 for no reason.
Probably just bishop d2, right?
Yeah, probably bishop d2. But it feels like a failure if you have to go back and forth like this. But maybe it's fine.
I guess that's fair. No, I'm still gonna say I think should have taken a more concrete approach in this position, just taking the bishop.
Anyways, we can move on.
Okay, so here he just takes on g3, and I play bishop takes.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I guess didn't make me have to work for anything, but I guess that's also I can't be happy about that because there was a better way he could have played, which left me with the worst position. He plays the move rook to e8. And I think I was debating between d5 and bishop c2. I think there's a chance that d5 was probably the best move, but bishop c2 is just the concrete move, so I just defend the pawn.
Yeah, it makes.
And my bishop wants to go to c2 anyways and contest the g6 bishop.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I do think that d5 forces the issue immediately. But I didn't like something about 95 and the fact that after 95, then another knight just lands on e5.
Yeah. Although in this case, one of the knights are pinned.
The knight is pinned. Why did I not?
Yeah, actually, yeah. In this case,
well, that's just bad calculation for me.
Yeah. Well, it's easy.
Yeah,
it's easy to see when it's on the board, but yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But when you're calculating it, it could just be like
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean, I saw rook e8 a couple moves ago, and I always just knew I was going to drop my bishop back to c2, so I didn't look at d5 too much in depth.
Yeah, and
which I guess I
and
should have,
very.
d5 is...
Yeah, just.
Whoa, actually, wait, hold up. So
d5 and b5.
Well, that doesn't work. Right?
Yeah, because he attacks the other knight.
But let's say d5 95.
d5 95.
Yeah, 95 d5. Is this position not like amazing for white?
Yeah.
After like.
Yeah, I like this position a lot. Yeah, I'm gonna put 2-3 rooks on the c file, and then also have the queen there, and put pressure on the c pawn, and
yeah,
the knight's still pinned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
I think just queen d3, rook c1, rook c2, other rook to c1. I'm very, very happy.
For sure.
Well, I guess rook c1, rook c3, so my bishop can come back to d1 if needed. And I really like the bishop on d1 going to f3 or g4.
Yeah, and
actually, I don't like it going to g4 because knight f6 targets it, but
yeah, you could even consider f3 and bishop f2 if you want to.
Yeah, I always knew that was an idea because I've never really gotten to the point in any of my Roy Lopez's where queenside expansion becomes a big theme, which it is in like all like the GM games that you see. It's always like a big kingside attack with f4, g4, or it's just a positional grind. I thought this was actually very interesting because this is like the stuff that you actually learn, but it's just like very hard to implement sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Anyways, so yeah, d5. I think your
I think d5 was completely crushing. Although I do end up getting a similar sort of position later on, so I think I'm fine.
Yeah, alternative.
I did.
Well, I just no. Alternatively, instead of e5, I guess he could have. Yeah, 97 or or knight
Well,
b8.
knight e7 is this just looks miserable, but I don't know how I'm crushing here.
Yeah, this is gonna take some massaging to do, for sure.
Well, okay. Wait, knight d4,
Knight d4.
knight d4, f4, f5.
Ooh, I like that plan. That's a good plan. Uh, I was thinking more knight h5, but this makes sense too. Knight h5.
Well, knight h5, I think he just lets you take and reroutes his rook.
Well,
Reroutes his
you can
rook.
also play f4, but knight probably maybe centralizing is better. So,
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's fine.
anyways, I guess we can move
Knight
on.
h4, bishop h7,
Bishop h7, yeah.
f4, g5. Sketchy.
I don't believe in that.
But
I don't believe in this move. Um, I
wait, but how do you refute that?
take once and maybe do this.
Uh, knight g6.
Maybe this now.
Knight f6.
I can take.
Can you?
I think so. I think so. Yeah. No discoveries because then I just take.
And there's no check.
Although you do win the pawn
I
back.
can just take the pawn.
Yeah, you do win the pawn back, which is annoying. Although in this case the rook's hanging. Oh, the rook's been hanging for a while, hasn't it? After knight f6, and queen takes the rook's hanging.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
that's fair.
Yeah. So no easy
I mean,
refutation, but
g5 is just an interesting attempt, I think.
yeah.
If the rook
You have to be very bold to play it, but it's an interesting move. But anyways, I like your idea of knight d4. That's probably a good move.
Yeah.
Anyways, but instead of d5, which I think you're right. I think that is a great move. You play bishop c2.
Yes, and where's bishop c2?
Move 17.
Oh, he plays knight to b6.
Knight to b6.
This is the first genuinely bad move I thought he made.
It's weird having both of his knights move away from the king side and move on the queen side in front of his own pawns.
Yes. So typically you try to land a knight. Sometimes a knight comes to b6, but never in an open. This is more of an open position in the Royal Lopez, I would say, than it really ever is. Knight b6 just seems very misplaced. And I thought after this, now I have to e5 because I failed to d5.
Oh,
sorry.
okay, yeah.
But I failed to consider the first time that the other knight couldn't land on e5, and I just completely forgot his pin to the rook. But now, obviously, that doesn't become an issue because I can just take an opponent's force to recapture, or else he just drops the exchange immediately.
Yep.
So I play this move. He plays knight to d5, or knight e5.
Yeah,
sorry.
no, you're good.
And I play knight e5, de5. And yeah, this is the position we arrive at. And I thought now I concretely knew I had an advantage. I just needed to find a plan and something to do. So I take a decent bit of a think here. And I remember that probably grabs space on the queen side. So I continue with the move a4. Obviously calculate a few things. That like the knight didn't have any nice squares to jump to. I remember if knight c4 happens, which probably just a bad move, I just play b3 and kick it back out. And then maybe it lands on the d6 square. And c6 comes in, but I never really thought that idea was that good because f3 just reinforces the e-pawn, and my light square bishop's free to do whatever it needs to do. Whether that's go to b3, but not b3 in this scenario, it'd probably be bishop b1 on the a2 f7 diagonal, or a2 g8 diagonal. I think that becomes an idea. But I think it's very hard to develop a plan here.
Yes,
I think a4 was just my best try.
Yes, I think it's definitely pretty good. I assume he would go like c6.
I assume that was coming too. I just don't know. I think now you have bigger issues to deal with than being able to play c6.
Yeah, this position doesn't look very good. I might want to throw an a5 first just to slow you down.
Yes, I always thought that was going to happen, but that didn't happen, which always seemed weird to me.
Yeah,
because there's no real way for me to gang up on that pawn or do anything. Because like you don't even have b6 to defend.
Yeah, maybe a5 and then c6 was a good way for him to try to fight back.
Yes, but then even then, I think your pawn structure just kind of benefits me. Maybe Or maybe it's still survivable. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I think you're slightly better. I think you're slightly better, but definitely not crushing or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. Then I guess yeah. I mean, here after A4, I think he kind of just like doubles down on his misplacement of the knight on B6. He goes Queen D6
Yeah, okay. He goes
instead of A5.
Queen D6. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Also,
And I thought this is like I don't know what he's planning to do. The knight has multiple rear out squares. I like the idea of knight to C8, knight D7, F5, maybe.
so wait, did you play A5?
After Queen D6, I did play A5.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. Yeah.
And I completely expected the knight to go back to C8, but I guess that's never really a move you want to play, unless you see a concrete route. I thought he probably just saw knight d7, knight f6, and thought he was fine. I thought he could still play for the f5 push, which maybe helps attack my pawn chain. But I always thought that knight c8, knight e7, f5 would be the way to go about it.
Yeah, white has too much space. You need to do a pawn break. You need to fight back with your pawn somehow.
Yeah, and I think even like I don't know. Yeah, it just seems weird.
I mean, knight d7. Like, okay, maybe knight c5, but like you never have enough attackers on e4 to make it worthwhile.
Knight c5, b4.
Yeah.
Knight c5, b4, queen d2. That pawn's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then my bishop can live on the a4 square where it's not in front of a pawn.
Yeah. Yeah. Not playing a5 is
And
really
then
tough.
c6 is never happening because the c6 pawn is pinned to the e8 rook.
Yep, for sure.
And like, there's like everything in this position I think has to benefit me. Like in my mind, it was at least like plus 1.5, plus 2 by now. Maybe over exaggerating, but I have the bishop pair too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
you're
think
very
my bishops
comfortable.
have a very
Yeah,
nice
white
future.
is for choice. Definitely.
Yeah, and maybe I kind of got in my head a bit, but like I've always gotten very, very nice positions out of the Roy Lopez historically. He plays knight to d7. I play queen to d2. Just looking to play b4 maybe.
Makes sense.
B4, bishop a4.
Makes sense.
Or I could have gone bishop a4, b4. I was saving bishop a4 because I had a feeling he might try to play c6 after knight f6, and that would immediately shut down the idea of cd5 because the rook would hang. And this is maybe more me setting a trap than playing concretely, which is possibly not what this position demanded. This is not very tactical.
Yeah, I think it's a fine move though. You're connecting your rooks. You're gonna play rook either c8 or rook d8, or sorry, rook c1 or rook d1. You're still gonna play bishop a4, so I think it's fine. It can be a kind of like I like how the queen doesn't even have the option to go to b4 now. Like if bishop a4 immediately. Actually, yeah, queen b4.
Was a
yeah,
move I was scared of,
the
yes.
knight hangs, I guess actually, but it makes sense just to play queen b4. It just makes sense. It's a very simple move that you don't really have to calculate.
I'm just making moves at this point, and I feel like my position's not like sharp. It's more just like double down on what you're doing correctly, and then you should be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really have much more to say. I thought he'd play knight f6 here. He plays knight f6.
Okay.
And then I play rook a to d1.
Rook a to d1.
Yes, I just wanted to centralize the rook. I thought about rook to c1 because I knew c6 would come in, and I always thought I wanted to employ like a pin along the file, so to make c6 more difficult to obtain.
Yeah.
And my other rook, I thought my other rook could activate because he has no dark squared bishop. I thought my other rook could activate on e3.
Yeah, I would have actually like maybe would have played either bishop a4 or f3 first. Because like
yes.
because like if he does nothing, like your rooks are just staring at your own pawns. You actually do need to target stuff eventually. So I would have just played f3 sooner rather than later.
I agree with that, and I had all these ideas in my head. I actually did think of bishop f. I thought of f3, bishop f2, and my thing was I thought bishop a4. I was saving that.
Yeah.
I thought right now let's just improve my position slowly, but I didn't feel like he was 100% consolidating just yet, which is why I felt okay going kind of.
Yeah, you have time. You have time for sure.
Yes, and that's what I thought. So he shut down on the queen side. There's no queen side advance. So if he goes b6, I just take, and I'm very, very happy.
Yeah.
And now I have a clear target of this b6 pawn.
Yeah.
And like the center is completely locked. He has no play on the king side. I mean, I don't have much play on the king
Yeah.
side either, but like,
Yeah, I don't.
how are you not happy with this position?
Yeah, I would definitely be happy for sure. You have this nice pass pawn forever as well. Um, Honestly, as black, I might even just play just because I need to do something. I just like because I don't like sitting around doing nothing. So I might even play that because hey, at least I have an open file now. I got something to
Yeah,
do.
that's completely fair.
Anyways,
I think this position's probably fine, but it's just miserable to play.
yeah, you're definitely always slightly better.
And yeah, so I play rook 8 to d1. He plays rook 8 to d8.
Okay.
This just showed me kind of ran out of ideas. I employ the f3 idea now
Nice.
because I'm anticipating c6. He's very obviously preparing for c6. And then he plays c6. And then I crank out the move bishop to a4, which I've been saving for this moment. And then he plays rook to e7.
Rook to e7.
Yes, for some reason I didn't calculate any rook moves. But I knew that I had the move bishop to f2 here. So I played it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's tough to calculate moves when they're not forcing. But this move is just very logical, like just getting the rook off of the bishop's vision. So you definitely
But
should have
my
seen it.
thing was I didn't know where the rook. I thought the rook would go to f8
Oh, okay,
because the rook has no future on
e7. Yeah.
on d7. But what I forgot to consider is once takes and takes, rook c7.
Yes. Yes. Like yeah. Because if was with the rook on e7, well, one
But
it's you can
oh,
you can
wait,
pretend to double and everything.
I completely forgot what my plan was. My plan was bishop f2, bishop b6.
Bishop
So
b6. Yep.
rook c7 isn't even possible. So the rook's just dead. Almost.
Yeah. Not many squares for it. That's for sure.
Okay, so I think bishop f2 is completely fine here.
Yeah. It's not bad.
And so, and then after bishop to f2, I think he takes on d5.
Okay.
And I play bishop to b6. What I was scared of here in this position was the move d4.
d4. Wow. Sacrificing the exchange. Wow. Yeah. Because let's say
Which I talked to him about, and he was gonna play.
this is honestly an awesome position. Like look how dead his bishop is on g6. But
And what I might have done here in this position is hit him with the insta f4.
instant f4.
Never mind.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe prepare f4.
Maybe bishop c2. Bishop c2, blockade the pawn first, and then try to fight back against the pawns.
Yeah, and I feel like this gets sketchy, but like at the end of the day, I'm still just up in exchange, so I can just.
Yeah.
The pawn's not going anywhere just yet, so we'll just play on the open board.
Yeah, I mean, I would just put my bishop on d3, put everything on the c file, and vibe from there for sure.
Yeah.
But definitely a scary
and so
idea.
actually, after a game, one kid came by, and I think he was like 21, 2200 or something, and he was like, "You should have sacked the exchange."
I mean, it is a bad
little
position.
indie kid, so I just trusted him.
All right, it is a bad. That's funny. It is a bad position, and honestly, yeah, maybe sacking the exchange
And
is.
there's also my bishop pair is very, very dominant.
Yeah, you're giving up your bishop pair for it.
And rook c1, bishop c5.
Yeah.
And you know what the funny thing about rook c1, bishop c5 is? The only square that rook has is c7.
Which falls into another pin, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, another
skewer.
Skewer, whatever you want to call it. Winning material.
And it becomes a battle of like, do I even want to give up my bishop for the exchange at this point? Like,
that's funny. The rooks are so bad stumbling over each other that yeah.
Yeah. I am like very materialistic, which I think is you might have to do in sort of these positions because like it's very, very hard to have compensation for the exchange. Complete compensation. My argument, but like if this is like an open Sicilian position, these are my bishops and I'm attacking, I wouldn't think twice about sacking an exchange.
Yeah, that makes sense. Anyways, so you played bishop b6, and what did he play?
I played bishop to b6, and he plays rook to c8.
Rook c8.
We vaguely talked about this game yesterday.
Yeah, did you play rook c1 here?
And no, but that's what we talked about. What I should have played.
Oh,
I just completely missed the idea.
Okay.
And I was like, just in my mind, what I didn't want to do was trade off pieces because I thought my pieces are better than his.
Because you're still scared of
Yeah,
d4
my
as
issue
well.
is I thought d4 and he's just up a pawn.
But no, of course here
But it
you have
doesn't
the
work because of bishop there,
yeah.
yeah. And that's what I failed to calculate. But I guess like you're always scared after. I'm always scared after like in between moves. Like what if I mess up and I'm not actually winning the pawn back like I
Yeah.
thought.
You have to be kind of meticulous with your calculation, and you have to.
And even up the exchange here isn't really that important. But like my bishops are snipers, and he can't stop me from getting on the 7th rank. He can't stop me from getting on 7th rank.
Yeah.
What am I doing? Why did I not?
Yeah, it's kind of scary to just let this
Yeah,
pawn
no, I'm getting
exist,
on 7th rank. Yeah,
but yeah,
that
just go
pawn's
like
not going anywhere though.
yeah,
The bishop holds d1.
it does. It does hold d1 very well.
Yeah, I should have played rook c1 instantly. Wow, that's awful on my part.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's always like in my head, like finding that move and not finding the move is the difference between a win and a draw.
Yeah. Sometimes it can be for sure. Yeah.
That sucks. But anyways, I botched this position horribly very soon. So
So you took.
bishop b6, rook c8, ed5.
Yep.
Knight d7.
Knight d7.
And best move is either bishop e3 or bishop f2. 100%.
Yeah.
I couldn't bring myself to do that. And I made a very, very bad decision and just took the knight.
Oh. Yeah. Your bishops were awesome. I mean, I guess I could see like okay, maybe you're thinking bishop e3 and knight goes up and attacking your bishop again, and you have to move your stuff back.
And I completely forgot that bishop that doesn't lose a piece because bishop c2 doesn't get hit by rook takes c2 because the knight's in the way.
Knight is in the way. Yeah, but you have to calculate, make sure there's no discoveries after this happens.
Yeah, it
but
just seemed like
actually, the knight's pinned. Actually, funnily enough, but I could definitely see how you'd be scared of this.
No, you're completely right. This is what me and Austin talked about. This exact
Oh
sequence
really?
is what we talked about.
No way.
And then we was like, oh yeah, the knight's pinned. That's completely fine. Like what am I doing? Like it's like, oh, you're starting to get lower on time. You're starting to get scared. You don't have time to calculate things completely, and then you just make a decision like this, which you shouldn't.
Yeah, it makes sense that you did what you did.
Yeah.
Because it feels like okay, black is getting activity now, but you know, your bishop's still good. Your pawn's well defended still for now at least. So, okay.
I mean, this position doesn't even seem easy to play.
No, it does not seem easy to play. It's still complicated.
Yeah, and my IQP probably gets ganged up on somewhere.
Yeah. So it makes sense.
Even then, it looks pretty drawn, but like I thought I had to have something here. 'Cause my bishop's good still. If I take the knight, right?
Yeah, your dark
I'm
skin
like,
bishop's
why did I
good.
train to an IQP position when I could have played rook c1? So I think missing rook c1 is the move that botched my position. I think.
Yeah, I would say that's probably good. Good guess.
But so bishop d7, rook d7.
Okay.
Didn't know what to do here. Just decided to play queen e3, looking to target the e5 pawn. And I would have met rook c2 with b3.
That's fair.
And I didn't really know what to. I didn't really know what to do. To be completely honest.
Did this happen in the game?
No, he didn't play rook c2.
Okay. Well, yeah, I imagine most likely pawns are gonna get traded, and
Yeah,
more.
I don't think
pawns.
he liked that
He didn't like.
because I always have he didn't like trading the pawns. I don't think no.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
Because why give up his e pawn for my b pawn, which my b pawn is already very weak? Why not defend your e pawn and still go try to win my b pawn?
Yeah, maybe like f6
So
or
he plays
something.
move f6. I play rook d2.
So here,
Rook c2 was not played.
f6,
Yes.
and now you play rook d2.
was played. And then he plays the move bishop to f7.
Okay. Yep. You're
Rook
gonna.
ed1.
Yep.
Bishop to g6, draw offer.
Yeah.
I accepted it. I didn't have anything better. He's a higher rated opponent. It's not the worst case scenario.
Yeah. It's definitely hard to make progress here with these.
I don't even have a try. So me and Austin talked about this game.
Yeah.
Queen b3 was the idea. Queen b3, queen a4, b4 was the idea.
I see it. I can see that vision. Um,
I wouldn't have seen it. And in this position, if you go back a couple moves before he plays Bishop G6, yeah, Bishop D5 blunders a piece to Queen D1, to Queen D3.
Queen D3. Yep.
And
that
I kind of was just praying that happened.
yeah. Yeah, like not even just taking, which also looks
yeah,
fine.
just take there, yeah.
Yeah, that but I like Queen D3 is even better though. It's even better.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, it makes sense that he wouldn't do that and he went Bishop G6
yeah,
instead.
It's like,
and it's not like Queen B4, Queen B3, Queen A4, and B4 is like.
I mean,
is that
blocking the advancement of your own pawn too?
Yeah.
And it's like I thought I was, there's no shot I was winning here. Like I might have been slightly better, but like.
Yeah, I mean,
even then, I could also be worse because my IQP could just be falling, but I thought there was no way he could win it. There's no way I can do anything on the other side of the board without dropping it.
Yeah, I mean, looking
So
at
I
it
just thought it
from
was
a tournament standing perspective, like you're not in a must-win situation, and
I mean, even then, I guess it's fine.
it is kind of sad that you threw that it felt so good. This position felt so good, but and then it just ended up like this. But games like that happen.
Yeah, against someone 215 points higher, 220, 219 points higher. Can't be mad at myself about that, but like, I definitely could have found a couple more critical moves.
Yeah, for sure. Biggest miss probably not going Rook C1.
Yeah. But I guess, I mean, I always thought I had to recapture at some point, and I forgot to look for a tactical follow-up because, as I said before, it seemed like a pretty dry position.
Yeah, especially if you were afraid of D4 before in a previous move, you're probably going to be still afraid of D4. Even if being afraid of D4, like,
but after Rook C1, D4 isn't even possible because it just hangs like a complete rook.
Yeah. So.
But then it's also, I guess it's harder to see, almost a little bit harder to see in calculation Bishop C5 when your bishop is on B6 versus your bishop on F2.
Yeah,
the bishop coming backwards for a skewer is almost a little bit more difficult to see. But like, if you were to give me this position right here, like if you go Rook C1,
if it likes me,
Rook C1, and then Rook C1 again, and then you were to play D4 and give me this position and be like, yeah, I would play that instantly.
Yeah,
I guess seeing that few moves in advance was kind of difficult.
Yeah, understandably so.
Or at least it felt difficult for me. Maybe like. I mean, I should have seen it. There's no excuse, but because yeah, everything is just awesome. Like the knight on F6 is trash. The bishop on G6 is horrendous. The rook on E7 is getting lost.
Lost in the sauce,
and then
bro.
The queen struggles just to find any good squares.
Yeah, it was a good position.
On the C-file, like.
Yeah, I mean, like he could go knight D7, preventing Bishop C5. I don't know. Your rook still gets in, and honestly, this pin is actually crazy. This is such a random pin in this position. That's kind of funny.
Does that win material eventually?
This rook is stuck, the knight is stuck, and the queen is stuck. I don't know.
Wait, whoa. Queen C2, Queen C8. Is that unstoppable?
Definitely, I would go Queen C3 just to prevent Bishop Queen B4. But yeah, I don't even know what Black does in this.
Well, Queen B4 doesn't work.
What do you mean? Wait, okay.
Queen B4 just drops a piece.
Let's say. Oh, okay. Oh, because Bishop takes. Yeah, I see what you mean. Anyways, but yeah, so.
But yeah, I mean.
F6.
I think it was a very, very nice positional game. I mean, he didn't make it very easy to win, but I had him at a point, I think.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, good game. I guess we'll check out game review if you're good.
So yeah, I moved to 3 out of 4 in the standings. And
you were still in top contention,
obviously,
right?
the tournament's over, so I won't spoil anything. But there ends up being 4 of us at 3-0 after this. At 3 out of 4 after this round.
Awesome, cool. So, looking forward to the next one.
Yep.